Before Wim Hof, there was the Ukrainian cold plunge guru who taught people to face nature's harsh environment to strengthen their body. For over 5 decades, he faced nature's crudeness with nothing but boxer shorts, a practice he maintained even during the harshest winter months, enduring torture at the hands of the Nazis and enduring stints in the most severe psychiatric institutions of the USSR. Porfiry Ivanov defied conventional norms and lived to the age of 85. Loved by many and perceived as crazy by some, he was a pioneer in cold plunge healing. What up, everybody? Esoteric Eddie here. Namaste. Today we're going to be talking about a very interesting man who is actually a pioneer of the cold plunge therapy / movement. He was doing this decades before Wim Hof and all the cool, trendy people from Austin, Texas. But kick back, relax. I'm going to be reading verbatim this essay that I put together here on the man, the myth, the legend, the Ukrainian cold plunge guru. It's about 8 pages, and I'll be chiming in with some commentary, so I hope you enjoy. Check this out. In a Soviet era that distrusted those who stood out unless they were aligned with the Communist Party, Ivanov, who promoted an unconventional yet healthy lifestyle, stood apart. He rejected comfortable clothing to demonstrate the power of his approach and showcased remarkable health. Drawn to him as a spiritual guide, crowds sought the wisdom of Porfiry, leading to suspicions from Soviet authorities who regarded him as the teacher. To halt his unconventional activities, authorities subjected him to confinement in psychiatric wards. A man of mysticism, he lived in between genius and madness. His philosophy or system, known as detka, or child, comprised of 12 principles, mostly concerning the body, while also focusing on the mind. The physical recommendations are straightforward, but can be challenging to execute. Practitioners were required to undergo cold water immersions twice a day, abstain from smoking and alcohol, and observe a strict fast from Friday evening to Sunday afternoon, refraining from both food and water. Additionally, they were to stand barefoot on the ground or snow before water rituals and after fasting. Meditating on mentally and energetically extending wishes for health to all formed a crucial part of the routine. Yeah, I mean, wild stuff. You know, this guy was out there, just this wild and crazy cold plunge guru running around in the snow and spreading his teachings and his love. And this whole cold plunge thing is a trip. You know, everybody's getting into it. And to be honest, it's something I have not yet adopted as a practice in my life. I love hot showers, man. I am not a cold plunge guy. I'm a warm and cozy plunge guy. But I do want to get into it because there are a lot of health benefits. And I'll speak a little bit about the health benefits here. You know, what I like to do is I like to take, a shower, and then as I end my shower, slowly turn the temperature to cold. So by the time I'm finishing my shower, the last minute or so is just straight cold water. But that's not the way to do it. You got to go just toes in, head after in that cold plunge. I understand. But yeah, so this man was doing that way back in the day, and he had a wild life. But getting back to this, despite potential skepticism, the routine of cold water immersions has proven beneficial to many individuals, contributing to physical well-being, even if the full spiritual essence of Porfiry Ivanov's teachings may be subject to interpretation. Yeah, just saying, like, there are health benefits, but, the spiritual, mystical benefits are up to interpretation. Cold water therapy goes back millennia, being studied by scientists for centuries. Ancient Greek scholars posited that areas of the body with excessive heat were susceptible to diseases. linking these maladies to the surplus of bodily warmth. This belief led them to explore inducing hypothermia as a therapeutic intervention to counteract the perceived heat-related ailments. Hippocrates, a prominent figure in ancient Greek medicine, became the pioneer in applying hypothermia to patients. Recognizing the benefits of cold, he documented the medicinal use of cold water in his treatise On Airs, Waters, and Places. Yeah, again, man, this stuff has been studied for many, many years, and it's just wild. It's like, oh, you got a headache? All right, well, let me just throw you in this cold lake. That'll do it for you. In the Middle Ages, cold water immersion was a common practice to alleviate fever. The principles were even observed in the New World, with Amerigo Vespucci noting the use of cold baths by natives in Honduras to reduce fever during the 1500s. It was not until 1766 that Dr. John Hunter initiated systematic experiments on hypothermia and cold exposure, driven by his quest to understand life through the lens of death. Yeah, so basically just kind of playing with cells and seeing, what would happen if we drove them to really cold temperatures? And there was a lot of interesting things that happened. It's instead of killing off the cells, they kind of preserve them in a sense, as we'll see. In the late 18th century, James Curie and John Hunter delved deeper into studying the effects of cold on human physiology. Curie, inspired by survivors of a shipwreck, conducted methodical experiments on cold water immersion, highlighting both stimulant and sedative effects of cold on humans. By the early 20th century, Dr. Temple Sedgwick Fay explored hypothermia's impact on cellular growth and cancer, revealing that differentiated cells displayed greater cold tolerance, normal cells, and that undifferentiated malignant cells displayed a less of a tolerance to the cold, meaning that cancer cells basically die off due to extreme cold. They don't have a tolerance to it. Despite its initial promise, hypothermia research faced a setback during World War II, of course, when Nazi forces misappropriated Dr. Fay's work for unethical experimentation at the Dachau concentration camp. It's always those damn Nazis, bro. Everything comes back to them. In more recent times, therapeutic hypothermia experienced a resurgence, particularly for its neuroprotective benefits demonstrated in clinical trials. The Wim Hof method, drawing inspiration from historical practices like Porfiry Ivanov's regimen of cold exposure, fasting, and meditation, asserts that a combination of cold exposure, meditation, and specific breathing techniques can enhance health and prevent diseases by activating the autonomic nervous system to mitigate systemic inflammation. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people like to do cold plunges and stuff like that to get rid of inflammation, to get rid of these various illnesses or ailments in the body. It kind of helps break things up. So getting back to Porfiry Ivanov and his wild life, we learned that he was born in 1898 in a village in the Lugansk. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of these Ukrainian words, but he was born in the village of Lugansk in the Lugansk region of Ukraine, a part of the Russian Empire at that time. Porfiry Ivanov distinguished himself with extraordinary strength and towering stature. At the age of 15, he embarked on a laborious journey in the mines, enduring strenuous work hours that often extended to an astonishing 20 hours a day, as vividly recounted in his memoirs. Although drafted into the Russian Imperial Army, Porfiry did not engage in military action, as the onset of the revolution brought an abrupt end to the war. Subsequently, in the emerging Soviet state, Ivanov's life took on the semblance of a typical ruffian, marked by gambling, drinking, and involvement in village skirmishes. He was a wild guy. That Porfiry Ivanov. He later had to learn how to chill out, no pun intended. Anyway, reflecting on this period, Ivanov candidly confessed in his memoirs that he was a reckless outlaw who would eventually settle down into a disciplined life centered around nature, not before he was faced with more obstacles. In 1928, Ivanov found himself incarcerated for 11 months on charges of tax fraud, marking a turning point in his life. A profound and irreversible transformation awaited him. According to Ivanov's own account, during one winter in the early 1930s, he was diagnosed with cancer, and doctors deemed his case hopeless. Faced with desperation, Porfiry resorted to an unconventional approach. He exposed himself to the cold and poured ice water over his body to induce his death quicker. That's pretty wild. It's like, man, I got cancer, I'm going to die. Fuck it all, I'm going to just go jump in a lake. It's wild because that's actually pretty similar to Wim Hof's story. Wim Hof's wife committed suicide, and he was so depressed that he would just go jump in cold waters just to feel something again. It's interesting, the circle of life, But to his surprise, this practice yielded unexpected results, enhancing his strength, vigor, and overall energy. Consequently, Ivanov adopted a routine of regular cold water immersions. Gradually, Ivanov embraced a radical lifestyle, facing the cold in nothing but shorts, even enduring the winter cold barefoot. Undergoing a mystical experience, he severed ties with his wife and 2 sons, embarking on a nomadic journey through Ukraine and southern Russia. Great excuse to be single again. I'm sorry, family, but I'm being called to go walk barefoot in the snow to change the world forever. One day in the future, all these social media influencers are going to be buying cold plunges and making reels saying day 243 of an ice cold plunge as they shiver in their little cold butts into the water and say #healthy. Crazy motherfuckers. So he left his family to go be a cold plunge guru, and his mission was to propagate what he termed his new idea, Detka, a philosophy centered around unity with nature. The principles were straightforward, including cold baths in the morning and evening, a weekly full fast on Saturday, and regular deep breathing in the open air. But what elevated Ivanov to the status of an underground celebrity? In 1935, Ivanov faced his initial arrest and was confined to a psychiatric facility in Rostov-on-Don. Psychiatrists there diagnosed him with schizophrenia, resulting in a prohibition on his ability to work. Subsequently, he was sent to reside with his relatives in the Rostov region. Reliable information about Ivanov's activities before World War II is scarce. However, during the Nazi occupation of the Rostov region, Ivanov gained local recognition as a unique figure. According to Ivanov himself, the Nazis subjected him to extreme tests bordering on torture, such as riding him on a motorcycle in freezing temperatures and burying him in snow for extended periods. Reportedly, upon emerging from the snow, Ivanov's body exhibited a reddish hue with steam emanating from him, as documented by his biographers. I mean, geez, again, the Nazis out here just experimenting with Ivanov. just like a real world X-Men. Just, I am Ivanov. You can put me in any freezer and I will live. Like, hell yeah, bro. We're going to send you to the ice wall and you're going to find out what's on the other side, buddy. Dude, imagine that's what the Nazis used him for. We have found our man. I'm trying to do a German accent, but they're like, we've found our man. We're going to send Ivanov to the ice wall and we're going to find out what's on the other side of this flat earth. But anyway, surviving the war left Ivanov unchanged in both character and practices. In the post-war years, he persisted in sharing his teachings. By this time, Ivanov adopted the title of teacher. In 1949, Edward Protopopov, an engineer, encountered Ivanov in Moscow, where he had arrived to both heal and instruct. The teacher's methods included washing everyone's feet with cold water from a basin. For those who were seriously ill, he would place them on a couch and lay his hands on them, one on their head and the other on their toes. With others, he engaged in hand-holding discussions about life and health. Following these interactions, he offered advice to all. He said to contribute to the needy, greet everyone, avoid spitting on the ground, a weird one, refrain from drinking and smoking, observe fasting on Saturdays, wash feet twice a day with cold water to awaken, step barefoot on the ground, breathe fresh air, and seek good health. All pretty good things. That's how the cult leaders get you. The not spitting on the ground, I read somewhere else where it was basically like showing respect for nature. You know, he felt like spitting was kind of like showing a disdain towards nature or, you know, yourself, really. But anyways, man, by practicing in this manner, Ivanov eventually drew the attention of the KGB, leading to his confinement in the USSR's most severe mental institutions. Between 1951 and 1954, he underwent compulsory psychiatric treatment in prison-like psychiatric hospitals for alleged anti-Soviet propaganda. Conditions in these institutions were harsh, with meager food provisions, leaving those without support from relatives to endure starvation. During the 1950s, psychiatric treatment primarily relied on a sort of therapy involving the administration of substantial doses of sleeping pills, resulting in constant drowsiness except during mealtimes. Ivanov's extraordinary health provided vital for her survival during this period of detention. Wow, that's kind of creepy, man. You know, like we were just drugging these people and making them fall asleep, you know, literally having them sleep, you know, the closing their third eyes. And that's what they're doing to us on a massive scale right now, man. They're trying to like put it in the water, put it in the food, put it in the air. Just go to sleep. Don't think for yourself. Well, we've got the cure, motherfuckers. Yeah, cold baths. Yup. Breathing fresh air, walking barefoot on the ground. That's going to wake your ass up and stop the reptilians from making you fall asleep. So in 1964, Ivanov faced another arrest, this time on fraud charges, but he was deemed mentally ill. So he got out. He's like, "What taxes? I'm not paying taxes. I'm crazy. Yeah. I'm just crazy." IRS was like, "Huh. All right. We'll let you go this time." Shit, that's what I'm gonna say after 10 years of not paying taxes. Sorry, man. I'm a cold plunge guy. I walk around barefoot. I'm crazy. Imagine that. New tax exemption. Cold plunger. But so subsequently he spent the following 4 years once again confined to mental institutions. During that period, Ivanov had gained considerable renown. He frequently journeyed from his village in the Rostov region in Moscow, where he would purportedly heal individuals. A discipline fondly reconnected by one of his people. They say here in quotes, The teacher often came to Moscow at the invitation of some people who were ill. From all over the city, people went to the train station to meet the teacher, and when he got out of the train car, everyone rushed to kiss him. When I entered the room, people were sitting everywhere, waiting. The teacher came out, statuesque, blue-eyed, and white-haired. He folded his hands on his chest and would say affectionately, "My dear friends, I have come here to keep you healthy." It's an awesome message right there, man. During the 1970s, Porfiry Ivanov assumed the role of a local guru. In Verkhnyi Kondruki, a village in the Lugansk region of Ukraine, where he resided and welcomed visitors and disciples, he lived out his days as a guru. In an unexpected turn of events, from November 1975 to March 1976, he found himself once again confined to a mental institution. Jeez, they just couldn't get enough of him. You know, every time he started to have success, "Yo, crazy! That man is crazy! Get him back in the bin." This time, the reason behind his institutionalization was his expressed desire to attend the 25th Congress of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. Wow, okay, makes sense. Like, he obviously had a lot of influence. Like, that's what's so annoying about these governments. They're so insecure, bro. He obviously had a huge following, and he obviously was going to win for Congress of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. And he was obviously going to change the world. He was going to say, "Cold plunges for everybody. No more shoes, no more clothes. Just let's all walk around naked in the snow." But they're like, "This man is crazy. Get him out of here." At least they didn't assassinate him. That's pretty cool of them. Pretty cool of you guys. Just throw him in the mental institution. No assassination. At the age of 77 through 78, Ivanov's physical strength had diminished. And while at the hospital, he endured treatments that nearly brought him to the brink of death. While at the hospital, he endured treatments that nearly brought him to the brink of death. Of course, psychopathic hospitals. Eventually, he was released to the care of his disciple and friend, Valentina Sukharevskaya. I'm not even going to try that one. Valentina, in a terminal condition. He was released in a terminal condition. However, to the surprise of a psychiatrist who visited 3 days later to confirm his demise, Porfiry opened the door himself, clad in his customary boxers. Nevertheless, in 1979, Ivanov faced another detention, this time under house arrest. Oh, well, how nice of you guys. At least let him be held captive in the comfort of his own home. The confinement was imposed following the gathering of numerous disciples and followers who had assembled at his village home to commemorate another anniversary of the commencement of his teachings. Of course, he was a teacher. He had influence, and the state never likes that. We know how that goes, right? Any man, any guy with a following that goes against the system is doomed to fail in the eyes of the law, but destined to succeed in the eyes of God. This period of house arrest persisted until 1982, when a feature article on Ivanov and his unconventional lifestyle was published in Ogonyok, one of the USSR's most widely read magazines. Finally, in the twilight years of his life, public acknowledgement began to embrace Ivanov. In sum, he endured more than 12 years of incarceration, hospitalization, and confinement in mental asylums. In 1983, Porfiry Ivanov passed away at the age of 85. However, for his devoted followers, his death marked the commencement of a large-scale movement. Bolstered by the official recognition of Ivanov's teachings, his disciples initiated gatherings, conferences, and the publication of Ivanov's writings. In 1992, approximately 10,000 individuals congregated near Ivanov's former residence to commemorate his legacy. To this day, thousands of Ivanov's followers attest to the effectiveness of his system. Yet, no definitive scientific evidence supporting its merits have been presented by Ivanov or his adherents. Only anecdotal testimonials persist. That was the man, dude, Porfiry Ivanov. And I've never, again, adopted a regular ice therapy in my life or cold plunge therapy in my life. I've yet to do that, but I have done some of that throughout the years. Actually, I remember I lived in this trailer, or not, I lived in this cabin years ago, and when I moved in there, the hot water didn't work, so I just had to get used to cold showers. And some people like cold showers, and I call those people psychopaths. But yeah, some people just like cold showers, or, obviously in third world countries or countries that aren't as fortunate as us here, that's all they have. But yeah, I remember living there. I used to take cold showers, and it feels good, if you can get past the initial discomfort. But that's what growing is all about, is seeking growth in discomfort, getting out of your comfort zone. And you know what? I'm going to challenge myself to take a cold shower tonight in the name of Porfiry Ivanov. Yeah, man. It's cool because today you have the extremities, right? You have people who are doing cold plunges and people who are also doing like the in-home saunas. Obviously doing both, but it's cool how we're starting to see like the independentness of it, right? Like everybody has their own little cold plunge at home, their own little sauna at home, and it's awesome. It's just a part of this growing movement of health awareness. Obviously, cold plunges and cold showers are good to heal the body, heal any areas of the body that are experiencing pain, that are experiencing disease. And then a sauna pretty much does the same thing, but instead of exterminating those areas of pain and disease, it detoxes it, right? It lets it out. So having those two is really good. It's really good. So that's why taking hot showers is nice sometimes. Let that steam run and detox your body. But yeah, everybody should be practicing some form of cold plunging or cold showering throughout the week or throughout the month, and also practicing some form of a hot steaming shower or sauna once a week or throughout the month. The body is a system, just like a machine. It needs to be regulated. It needs to be tuned. It needs to be upkept. And fasting, I like how he included fasting, because fasting is another form of this detoxification, where you're not allowing any more consuming to happen. You're not allowing any more excess intake, and you're allowing your body to process what's already in there. So as you let it process, and then while you're fasting, do cold plunges and sauna, it's like refreshing your entire body, refreshing your entire system, and starting fresh, starting with almost a brand new body. If we were to incorporate these into our lives once a month, do a hard cold plunge and hard sauna and hard fast regimen, at least, at the end of every month, beginning of every month or whatever, you would restart your body, and your body would be able to, take on life. It'll be able to take on impacts and processing and stress in better ways. Because stress actually gets stored in the body, believe it or not. When we go through traumas and stress, a lot of that actually does get stored in the body. And you got to let it out. We got to let it out one way or another. And so, yeah, man, shout out to Porfiry Ivanov, the Wim Hof before Wim Hof. It's very fascinating to learn this history. I came across this history when I was doing the research for the dolphin-assisted births video that I released last year. And that video is wild. If you haven't seen that one, check that one out. That guy was a trip too. Another, I think, Russian or Ukrainian guy who invented the whole idea of dolphin-assisted births. It's just, there's so many ways to go about health in this life, but the common thread I've seen throughout all of the holistic and natural ways of health is basically exposing ourselves to nature, being vulnerable to nature, and allowing our bodies to acclimate to nature. Because the modern day approach to health, it's like the opposite almost. It's everything's not natural. It's centered around boxing yourself in, right? Stay in bed, just stay in bed, take these medicines, and obviously all of that has its place as well, but it's just a different method. Modern day medicine, modern day approaches to health is like boxing you in and keeping you from nature and dependent on the man-made systems because it's a business. But the holistic and natural methods centers around you opening yourself up to nature, which is God, right? Not that nature is God, but nature is God's expression, and it's God's creation. It's God's system. I mean, there are foods that grow out of the ground. I mean, I live on a ranch. I literally just walked down the way to go throw the trash away, and on my way up, I picked an orange off of this tree and just ate it. It's got myself full of some citrus, some of that vitamin C. Yeah, you know what I mean? Feeling good, feeling good. So the holistic natural way opens you up to nature, opens you up to God, opens you up to that universal connection, and allows you to strengthen yourself, truly strengthen yourself, because you're not dependent on the man-made systems and man-made drugs, which can be addicting. Nature's system is not addictive. Of course, you can become obsessive with it, but it's not addictive. You're not going to become addicted to oranges or pomegranates or whatever. It's just going to give you what you need, and you're going to keep moving forward. I hope you enjoyed this half hour or so of content while you're driving to work or whatever it is you're doing, man. I love you, and you're awesome, and I hope you have a great day.